Calisthenics. Take us away.
Okay. Firstly, let's start with what is calisthenics. I'm sure the people who watch this know because a lot of them we met
But
through
also
calisthenics.
a lot of people don't actually know. I feel like that's the most unknown thing.
Yeah, because it's a very developing sport right now, which is getting a lot more traction, I would say, especially online, and which is a really good thing. It's really like building nicely. So what is it? It is essentially a form of exercise that uses strength and skill development through body weight as primary resistance. So some examples of such exercises with body weight would be pull-ups, chin-ups, dips, push-ups, pistol squats, muscle-ups, hanging leg raises, static-based movements. So that includes, for example, handstands, planche, human flag, front and back lever. There's loads more, but they're really advanced and difficult, but insanely impressive. And freestyle, which is on the bars, that's 360s, 180s, plus a bunch of cool stuff.
Yeah, I feel like calisthenics has sort of, correct me if I'm wrong, but 3 main areas almost. I think there's the freestyle, so bar work. Oh no, there's, other than street lifting, because we'll get into that.
Yeah, there's
freestyle, statics, and like reps and basics.
Those are like the really broad categories, I would say. Also correct us if we're wrong, because we are not.
But I think that's what it is. I think it is also divided by like street lifting and then statics, I think, a lot of the time. And a lot of the time when people do mention calisthenics, it's more so the statics part of things.
Now to discuss what kind of equipment you might need, and this is definitely not a necessity.
No,
you can do it. One of the main benefits of calisthenics is that you don't need anything to do it. You could do it, like I could right now just drop down and do some calisthenics.
Give me 20.
No. But a lot of the time the main pieces of equipment would be a pull-up bar, dip bars, parallettes are very helpful and useful. Like I said, not a necessity, but very often used. And rings, which I've personally just started working on.
So, like Agnesa mentioned, probably the main, most important advantage and benefit is the fact that it's so easily accessible to people. You don't need a gym, you don't need equipment. You can literally drop down 20 push-ups. That's calisthenics. You can, like, a wall for a handstand if you want the support, but it's super accessible. There's a lot of calisthenics parks that are free for the public to use as well, so there are places that you can do it. You don't need to be paying as well, so it's definitely one of the only sports within like the gym disciplines that you don't need the actual gym for.
I think right now as well, another really big benefit to calisthenics is the community it's building. Like I mentioned before, calisthenics is really developing a lot more. It's becoming a lot more widespread. It's gaining traction compared to, let's say, a few years ago. And I think that's because of the community, honestly. Everyone is super supportive and uplifting, and it's so motivating to be a part of the calisthenics community. So yeah, it acts as a social
it's like a social aspect.
Yeah.
And everyone's so supportive in the communities as well. Like, everyone supports each other online, and if you need any help, most people are
more than happy to help.
There's also, with calisthenics, you do develop a lot of like relative strength in comparison to your body weight, because obviously you're doing a lot of body weight movements, so you sort of master your own weight, and the way that you can develop your strength is insane. Like, there's so many strong people that these skills are translatable to like weights as well in the gym, and like it's very interchangeable. So it's not like you're going to do calisthenics and you're not going to be able to lift weights. Like that's not true. And in fact, it's better so that way than the other way. Like if you go to do weights in the gym, you're not necessarily going to be able to do calisthenics. So it's definitely got that advantage going forward, where you do gain a lot of strength. You can gain a lot of muscle. Like there are some jacked people in calisthenics. And if you want to, we're going to speak about this next, but there's always street lifting, which is an addition, sort of like an add-on to calisthenics with weights, where you can kind of integrate the two if you're kind of missing out on that sort of aspect.
Yeah. Another really good thing about calisthenics is that it's a lot of the skills are, there's a lot of skill-based progression.
Mhm.
So basically it's for all levels. You can be a very beginner but work on the beginner progressions to a more advanced skill, and then as you work on it, just go up by progressions, which I think is, it makes a sport, I feel
Yeah.
that's what makes a sport also more accessible to basically anyone. You don't need any, of course it's good to build up the basics, but you don't need any starting point. You can start from nothing.
Yeah, and there's so much variety to it that you don't have to like lift a certain amount of weight to be able to like hit a PB. Like if you're getting bored of like handstands, you can literally like do another thing one day. And there's so much variety, and there's so many cool things that you could be doing that you're genuinely like, you won't get bored. I feel like.
And I think you also discover what your body is capable of through different calisthenics skills. I think a lot of people underestimate how much they can actually do.
Yeah.
Should I give an example?
Yeah.
I'll give an example briefly, but when I first started learning calisthenics, for example, an elbow lever, someone might look at it and think, oh, that looks like a really difficult skill, but actually it's, in my opinion, one of the easiest skills. And I literally learned it. I was just in my room one day, literally. This was as I just found out about calisthenics and started thinking about training it. I was just playing around in my room and I just unlocked an elbow lever.
Yeah.
Like it just shows what you're capable of, that if you had never tried, you literally never know you could do something like that, which is very motivating.
Yeah, for sure. And every second counts in calisthenics. Like every additional second that
every millisecond
you can hold it, and it's like a PB. Like there's so much potential for like incremental wins that it makes it a lot more rewarding as well in a way. I think we should move on to disadvantages just for a bit. There's not many, but like obviously with everything that's good, there's also going to be some things that might not attract you, and sort of it's not going to be a fit for everyone, and that's completely fine. And that's why we're doing this, is to just help you kind of realize what's better for you, for your personality, for your body type, for just the way that you are wanting to train as well. So do you want to get us started on the drawbacks?
So the one thing I would say is that it requires a lot of patience. And whilst, like I did just mention, you can unlock some things just like that, there are certain skills, especially the more advanced ones, that take ages to unlock. And so yeah, it kind of acts as a barrier, which might demotivate a lot of people, but honestly, like it's worth it in the end. So it's pretty, if you're learning something like planche, for a lot of people it's a pretty slow process and takes a lot of time.
It's also body weight dependent more than lifting weights is. For example, when you lift weights, typically the heavier you get, the easier it is, because mass moves mass. But in calisthenics, when you're doing stuff like statics, pull-ups, when your body weight is the weight that you're lifting, as you get heavier, it gets harder. And how your body weight fluctuates, your training can also, and it can be very confusing at times, I feel like. And also, I feel like when you're heavier, it might take a little while longer than lighter people do take to progress on statics and like endurance. And yeah, when you're lighter, you might need to add more weight as well to yourself, not discrediting, because I feel like there's a lot out there that says, oh, you're lighter, so it's easier, but it's not, because you're lighter, so you have less muscle, so it's not easier. Like, relatively, it's all the same. You like, yeah, I can't describe it in any other way, but the sport is just reliant on how much you weigh at that time. So another drawback is that there's limited progressive overload. So, for example, when you go into the gym, you can, slowly increase the weight that you're doing to give more stimulus to your muscles. But with calisthenics, like you can add in some more repetitions banded, but it's not as linear, and you're going to have to find more creative ways of doing so.
I feel like that gives a pretty general overview of calisthenics. For those interested, me personally, I highly recommend. It's my favorite. Leave a comment if you're thinking about starting calisthenics.
Leave a comment.